Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good. I hope you're enjoying your day. But with that being said, I have some disturbing news I just heard on the news. Another teacher has been arrested or about to get arrested for sleeping with her student. Now, first, a long time ago, we had to worry about the men sleeping with their student. Now we got to worry about the women sleeping with their students. Either where it goes is wrong either way, whether it's a man or a woman. It just doesn't make any sense. You can't send your kids to school without worrying about them being violated, whether it's a man or a woman. And I'm seeing that a lot of 20-year-old women are now doing what men used to do. So they couldn't find nobody their damn age. They couldn't find them a man. I mean, it have so many sites where you can get your rocks off all types of ways. But there you want to mess with a young boy. And that makes it even better if one of them might give your child a disease. So what is the world coming to? Now you gotta watch your sons around other teachers, women teachers, and your daughter around man teachers. How can they do disgusting things to your kid and you thinking your kid is all right? That's why us as parents got to sit down and talk to our kids every day, because these teachers are just going a little too fucking far. They need to be ashamed of themselves. They need to be put in jail and not let the hell out ever. It's another case where I seen with this woman. She was a white woman. She was given all sex to 17-year-old boys. I think they said she have 10 years or something like that probation. It was several cases like that. Now, with that being said, that's some fucked up shit. She needs some jail time. And I think they said something about her still having her license. I gotta find that damn video because I heard someone else talking about it, but I need to find it for myself so I can put it on my channel and so people can hear it for themselves on my channel. But anyway, I do got a couple videos about women teachers and some on men teachers. Hope y'all enjoy it, but I just think it's disgusting regardless if it's a man or a woman. It doesn't make any sense. It's just some fucked up shit. And it got to fucking stop. It needs to stop. They better get on their P's and Q's. And it's all with these 20-something-year-old teachers. So they should not teach unless they're 30-something fucking years old. Not 20, 35, 40, 60 shit. Because obviously, if they that damn age, they won't be looking at, you don't have to worry about it, looking at your kid. They'll be actually teaching your kid some knowledge and they getting their grades good and everything. They go to college, not getting in their pants. I hope y'all enjoy it. Have a nice one. Everybody talk about these pedophiles in the industries and the movies and stuff like that. But damn, now you even got to worry about the teachers. That's a damn shame. And they ought to be ashamed on themselves for the bullshit they doing. Make no fucking sense.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Cheryl Miller. That breaking news coming to us from Henrico County, where a teacher has been arrested for having sex with a student. Ashley Lee Lewis Weber has been charged with 2 counts of having sex with a teenager and 1 count of using a communication device to propose sex. According to the Henrico County Public Schools website, the 31-year-old teacher teaches history at Douglas Freeman High School. In court this morning, we learned that the teen was a student at the school. Weber was granted $5,000 bond in order to have no contact with the teen. We have reached out to the school system and are waiting to hear back. CBS 6 has a crew working to gather more information on this story, and will bring you updates on WTVR.com and tonight starting on the CBS 6 News at 5.
Brittany Samora gets 20 years behind bars and mandatory registration as a sex offender for life after she pleaded guilty to molesting a 13-year-old student Carla Navarrete of our affiliate KNXV has the story.
I'm ashamed of my actions and am completely remorseful and truly regret what took place.
Brittany Zamora learning her fate today. Not only is she going to prison for 20 years, she's facing a lifetime probation and will forever have to register as a sex offender.
He witnessed sexual acts between Miss Zamora and the other victim that no child should ever have to encounter.
This parent speaking to the court today. Her 11-year-old boy was in the classroom on the lookout while Zamora molested the 13-year-old boy at Las Brisas Academy.
Instead of teaching subjects like math and English, she showed him pictures and asked him about his private parts. She tried to groom my child into believing that this behavior was okay.
But Zamora's attorney providing a statement saying the 13-year-old boy, not necessarily a boy, but a teenager, she says, who was aggressive.
Brittany Zamora implored Principal Dickey to move him because the teenager had boundary issues and was obsessed with Brittany. I am not making that up. I learned that from Principal Dickey.
At one point blaming prosecutors and the media for making Brittany out to be a monster.
She is not a monster. Brittany is not a predator. And this was not between a young child and Brittany. This was a teenager.
But statement after statement from the lawyers of the parents of the 13-year-old about how their son will have lasting issues from the abuse. The mother of the 11-year-old who would stand to witness Brittany's sexual encounters, leaving Brittany with this.
Let this sink into your head, Brittany. Your mind is foul, your heart is ugly, and you disgust me. You should be embarrassed and ashamed of yourself. You deserve to leave prison at an age where you cannot bear children of your own.
Wow. Let's bring Joey back on that. So you've got the graphic pictures as this all plays out, text messages, and then we just heard from that parent basically saying, you're using my 11-year-old as a lookout and grooming him to be next. Did all of that fit the burden of proof in a 20-year sentence?
I don't think so, Mike. And before people start yelling at the TV, let me just say this. I think certainly I certainly do not condone what she did. It's awful. It's miserable. There's no way, shape, or form. There's no justification that you should be in cahoots and doing anything with a 13-year-old. You're in a position of trust. You're in a position of responsibility. You should know better. All of those things mitigate against her. And so she should be condemned for that. But I think there's an underlying issue. I think that our system has to deal with and treat people for what they have. Obviously, she has some issue, whether that's a sexual issue, whether it's a predatory issue relating to children that children need to be protected from. Yes, she does. Let's deal with that issue. If you are not a criminal when you go to jail, you most certainly will be when you get out. Is there not a form of punishment that you could met out by putting her in jail such that, again, as we look at why she got 20 years of what she did, is there not a form of punishment where we could put her in jail but deal with the underlying issue? Is there not a program? Is there not a psychological evaluation? Is there not some structure? Is there not something she can do? So just throwing her in jail for 20 years, I think, is the easy way out. I think there's something else that could be done. In any type of situation, Mike, you're looking for punishment, deterrent, and rehabilitation. Yes, this has deterrent value because I don't think any teacher in the jurisdiction will go near a child. But what about the others? Could she not be rehabilitated as a young woman? Should that not be into the sentence as well? And should, you know, while certainly she has to be punished and there has to be deterrence, what level of punishment is appropriate? I think 20 years, I think the judge went off the rails, and I just don't think that'd be something that I would do under this circumstance.
Real quick, what are your thoughts on the argument from her attorney that the 13-year-old could be the aggressor here?
I don't buy that. I don't think that you blame a 13-year-old for doing what they do. I don't think you blame the victim. The victim was victimized. So that I'm not going to, you know, support in any way, shape, or form. What I'm saying is that judges have to be honest about what's going on here. And we have to go, Mike. I'll never forget doing a sex offender hearing. I'm melting in my chair, sitting in my chair as they're going on. The prosecution is about my client and what he's doing and everything else. And a woman judge had the case, and they were presenting pornography that they said was child pornography. The judge said, "Do you have the ages, prosecutors, of these people? Do you have the ages?" They said no. And then the judge said, "Well, this is then it's just porn. So as a result of just porn, I'm not going to give him the next level." And I think that's a judge who really evaluated things, and I think that's what judges need to do. And in this case, I just think they went too far.
Again, 20-year sentence. Wow. We'll be checking back with Joey here in just a moment. Joey, thanks. All right, now this one, just a terrible tragedy.
I want to bring in, if I can, clinical psychologist Robbie Ludwig, because, Robbie, we all make great hay of these stories when they hit the press, especially when the teachers are beautiful.
Yes.
And then you'll hear all sorts of men say, gee, I wish my teacher had done that to me. When I mean, that's really short-sighted.
Yeah.
However, that's often the reaction.
Yeah.
In this particular case, it's a little different. He's 18, she's 22. Had there not been a school involved, there'd be no problem at all. Do you think that this is it time to revisit these laws?
No.
Why not? Tell me.
Because she was still his teacher. They were in a scholastic community. She had a responsibility to maintain those boundaries. Now, having said that, do I think it's criminal? You know, that's for the law to decide. I think
and that's where I ask you. So how about fire her,
right,
but don't make her a sexual offender?
Okay, I agree with that, because I think it's more in the line of romantic poor judgment. And one of the problems here is when you have a young teacher, very often these young teachers are not educated that they might feel attracted to a student, or that a student might seduce them. And what do you do with those feelings? Who do you talk to about it? How normal is it? And so that's why these situations are happening over and over and over again, because some of these teachers are naive, they're not trained, so they easily get seduced in a way that, let's say, a more trained professional might not.
That's a great point. And in fact, you know, this is all becoming very new to the systems across the country, especially since the Mary Kay Letourneau days. Let me bring in a defense attorney on this one. Kirby Clements is with me live in Atlanta. Kirby, I don't know the answer to this, and I don't know that you'll know the answer to this. I don't know that anyone can give a blanket answer to this. But do schools on a regular basis, upon September whatever, on the incoming moments when those student teachers all arrived, fresh-faced at the ripe age of 22, do they read them the Riot Act and legally say, listen, you might think it's legal because they might be 18, but you will go to jail? Do they do that, and do they have to?
Well, the second question, no, they don't have to do that. As to the first one, I think that they probably have their code of conduct that they explain to the teachers what they're supposed to do, but they probably don't go into the criminal liability that the teachers face, and perhaps they ought to do that to let them know that it is a crime and you don't want to be committing crimes. But some of this you would think would be common sense. Don't have relationships with students. But
well,
of course, when they're older.
Kirby, you would think. But then the 22-year-old might say the common sense is don't have sex with underage boys. But he's 18. He can go to war. He can vote. And in Canada, he can drink. Isn't that also common sense for a 22-year-old coming out of college and beginning her career?
No, I think you're absolutely correct that at that stage of the game, you're not thinking that this is a position of power. And I look at the Connecticut law, and it does say that teachers are in a position of power, just like in jails. You know, all the inmates in prison are adults, but the guards can't have sexual relationships with them because of that power dynamic. But in this situation, when it's an adult, and you have a teacher, perhaps it ought not be a felony. What about night school? Does that mean if you have somebody who's 25 and in night school, that they can be prosecuted for having, or that their teacher can be prosecuted? So there's some area that I think needs to be cleared up on this law.
Go live now outside the Bucks County Courthouse in Doylestown. Katie, the boy here says these encounters turned sexual just last month.
That's right, Brian. It's all outlined here in the criminal complaint, which also states that the boy's grandmother contacted authorities earlier this week. The DA's office acting quickly, arresting that woman.
In any school situation, as a parent, you send your child to school and you expect them to be in a safe and protecting environment.
But that was not the case for one teenage boy who was allegedly sexually assaulted by 38-year-old Jenny Lynn DeRolf, a teacher's aide in the victim's class at Valley Day School in Falls Township, according to Bucks County District Attorney Matt Weintraub.
She's facing some serious criminal consequences as a result of her actions and taking advantage of a young boy like this.
The teen victim told investigators after exchanging discreet cell phone messages on the app Discord, the two began to meet up, and the meetings became, in his words, romantic. At locations like Falls Township Park and Levittown Lake, their interactions evolved into sexual contact on 3 different occasions in July, according to the DA's office. The Valley Day School serves students who require special attention and are classified as emotionally disturbed and or neurologically.
Tonight, a Brevard County teacher's aide is behind bars accused of having sexual relations with a student at her school. We first told you about Elena Chasky's arrest earlier this afternoon with a push alert from our News 6 mobile app. Palm Bay police say they began to investigate Chasky after receiving a tip. News 6 reporter James Sparvero found out the relationship lasted for months.
This is the TA Southeast Palm Bay house where police say she made contact with the teen. Records reveal a sexual relationship spanning most of this year.
Elena Chasky.
At the Brevard County Jail, 35-year-old Elena Chasky faces a judge. Investigators say they've got the proof this school employee had a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old.
She met this particular victim on the bus.
The school bus at Riverdale Country School. As a student aide, Chasky worked on the bus and, according to investigators, began the talking there, with the relationship becoming sexual at her house. Police say that went on from February to September, the teen's mother getting suspicious and going to authorities.
Detectives got involved. They quickly found out that there was inappropriate behavior.
Police say that included sexual text messages and images between Chasky and the teen on his cell phone. Those were revealed by the teen's mom after he was accused in September of breaking into Chasky's house. Police say knowing she was under investigation, Chasky quit her job at the school, and then yesterday, with a warrant out for her arrest, she turned herself in. Police say they even warned her over the summer to stay away from the teen.
The nature of the allegations.
A judge today acknowledged Chasky has no prior criminal history. He assigned her a $65,000 bond under condition she cannot see the teen and she must stay at least a mile away from the school. In Brevard County, I'm James Sparvero, News 6.
School teacher, a woman, has now been charged with having sex with a 14-year-old male student, okay? Let's put up a picture of this person. This is from the Fresno County Sheriff's Office. 6 Crimes Unit announced the arrest of Crystal Jackson, 39 years of age, a teacher accused of having sex with a 14-year-old student. All right? Horrible. Crystal Jackson was arrested on Friday and booked into the Fresno County Jail on 4 counts of rape, along with single counts of continuous sex abuse of a child, oral copulation with a child, lewd acts with a child, communicating with a child to commit a felony, and meeting with a child for lewd purposes. Let's put a picture up again. Okay. Here's the background. On Friday, sex crimes detectives, with the assistance of the Central California Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, began an investigation into allegations surrounding a teacher named Crystal Jackson of Mountain View Independent Study School in Ridley. This school is part of Kings Canyon Unified School District. Detectives received information of Jackson engaging in continuous sexual abuse of a 14-year-old boy. Over the course of an unspecified amount of time, Jackson had several one-on-one meetings with the student and sexual misconduct took place. This remains an ongoing investigation and detectives are working to determine the locations where sexual abuse may have occurred between Jackson and a now former student. There is a possibility that there are other victims out there who have not reported Jackson's illegal activity. I guarantee it. Yeah, there are other victims. Now, I know some people will say, well, it's different for boys. That's a damn lie. We know that based on research, okay? Young children, male and female, who are molested, especially by trusted adults, they have severe mental issues that have to be dealt with one way or the other. What she is doing is setting this 14-year-old up for mental, psychological failure. Intervention has to happen immediately. Now, it may seem to this 14-year-old like a good time. The 14-year-old does not have the capacity to give consent. There's a reason our laws state that. Adrian, I know you can go deeper into that, but I wanted to say it for the record. It is not different, damn it, just because it's a male child.
Absolutely not. And that's a very antiquated view, because it was always this thought of, oh yeah, a guy's having sex, let's high five him. No, this is a child. And that is why there are laws against this. That child was raped. There is serious psychological consequences of having someone essentially betray your trust and sexually victimize you. We're talking PTSD, depression, suicide, alcohol problems, eating disorders. That individual also may be perpetuating sexual fantasies, stereotypes, bad things that are gonna hurt other people. And so we need to realize that a child is a child. It does not matter their gender necessarily. Also, the thing also to bear in mind is how common this is. RAINN, that's Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. They're the nation's largest anti-sexual violence org. They report that about every 9 minutes that there's Child Protective Services finding some evidence of child sexual abuse.
Wow.
And so if you happen to suspect that someone's being abused, or you are, please do reach out to RAINN for help or resources at 1-800-656-4673.
Give out that number one more time, Adrian.
That's RAINN at 1-800-656-4673. They are there to help you, to give you resources. And the thing is, you have to remember you're not alone.
Amen to that. Thank you for that info.
The affidavit, the male victim sent the video to a large number of Lakeland High School football players. When investigators interviewed Davis, she admitted she and the male student had sex at least 4 times, twice at her home and twice at the student's home, while his parents were asleep upstairs.
Like, girl, what is wrong with you? Did you burn through your last 5 brain cells? So she's locked up in the county jail, and I anticipate that's where she'll spend Christmas, eating turkey off of a loaf.
When investigators confronted the victim, he initially denied ever having sex with Davis before admitting the two had sex 4 times. In interviews, he says he initiated the relationship when he randomly walked up to her one day. He tells police at first the two just liked each other, but says the relationship turned sexual on October 10th after a football game. As of right now, police are still working to track down a copy of this Snapchat.
There's lots of words in the English class that you could write about why this is not right.
Polk County Sheriff Brady Judd tells News Channel 8 20-year-old Ayanna Davis laid it out in plain English. She had sex several times with a teenage student.
I want to ask her, come on, girl, what are you thinking? You're a teacher. You're in a position of supervision over this student, and you're having sex with him?
Her arrest affidavit shows David started as a substitute English teacher at Lakeland High School in August. A student notified officers after seeing a Snapchat video of Davis having sex with a student. Davis admitted to having sex with the teenager several times at both their homes from October to December, according to her affidavit.
He's still a juvenile, a child, and she's an adult, and she had sex, and it's wrong on every level.
The staffing service company Kelly Education hired Davis in August. A spokesperson said she passed all the background and screening requirements. Polk County Public Schools changed its rules in October to allow anyone 20 years old or older with a high school or GED degree to work as a substitute teacher. 8 on Your Side has been told Davis began her work before that change, but Kelly Education did not disclose her certification level.